It started with a glance, one fleeting look that lingered a little too long. I never meant for it to go this far, never meant for it to happen at all. But sometimes, the heart wants what it wants, and once you cross that line, there's no turning back. This is the story of how I fell for someone I shouldn't have, and the night my perfect secret was exposed in the most shocking way. Chapter 1: The First Kiss. It was late spring, the air warm and full of the scent of fresh rain. My husband, Jason, and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3. On the outside, we had the perfect life, a beautiful home, stable jobs, and an undeniable bond. But deep down, things had started to change. Our conversations had grown shorter, our passion quieter, and we slipped into the comfort of routine, losing the spark we once had. Then, there was David. David was Jason's best friend, a man I had known for years, but only as a friend. He was charming, with a smile that could light up a room, and there was always an undeniable chemistry between us, but it had always been just that, innocent chemistry. Until it wasn't. It happened one evening after a group dinner at our house. Jason had gone to bed early, exhausted from work. David stayed behind to help me clean up, something he always did. But this time, something was different. There was a tension between us, thick in the air as we worked side by side, hands brushing every so often. I could feel the electricity building between us with every shared glance, every accidental touch. When he turned to say goodnight, I expected him to walk away as usual. But instead, he stepped closer, his eyes locked on mine, and for a moment, the world fell away. I felt a pull, an overwhelming urge I had fought for so long. He leaned in, and before I could stop myself, I met him halfway. Our lips collided in a kiss that was soft at first, testing, but it quickly deepened into something much more intense, more forbidden. Chapter 2: Stolen Moments. From that night on, everything changed. David and I tried to stay away from each other, but it was impossible. The more I saw him, the more I wanted him. We would find excuses to meet up, running into each other at the grocery store, pretending to need help with something at the house, anything just to steal a few moments alone. Every time we were together, it felt like the rest of the world disappeared. The thrill of the secret, the danger of being caught, made everything more intoxicating. Our kisses turned into heated embraces, and soon, we were sneaking off whenever we could, consumed by the fire that had ignited between us. But as much as I tried to ignore it, the guilt was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Jason, my husband, was a good man, and I loved him, but with David, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: passion, excitement, the kind of connection that left me breathless. I was torn between 2 men, unable to let go of either. Chapter 3: The Affair Deepens. It wasn't long before David and I crossed every line. We would meet in hotel rooms under the guise of business trips, or spend hours together in secret places, lost in each other. Every touch, every kiss felt like an escape from the mundane reality of my life. He made me feel alive again, like I was the only woman in the world. One night, while Jason was away on a work trip, David and I found ourselves alone in my house. It was risky, reckless even, but we couldn't help ourselves. The moment he walked through the door, the tension between us was palpable. He grabbed me, and we kissed, desperate and hungry, as if we hadn't seen each other in weeks, even though it had only been days. We made love that night with a kind of urgency I had never experienced before. Every touch, every whispered word was filled with passion, and for a moment, it felt like nothing else mattered. But as we lay there afterward, tangled in the sheets, reality started to creep in. "This can't last forever," David whispered, his voice heavy with guilt. "I know," I replied, though the thought of ending things with him was unbearable. We both knew we were playing with fire, but neither of us was willing to put it out. Chapter 4: The Night It All Fell Apart. As with all secrets, ours didn't stay hidden forever. One night, Jason came home earlier than expected. David and I had grown careless, meeting more frequently, taking greater risks. We had spent the evening together at a hotel, and I had just returned home, still flushed from our encounter. Jason was sitting in the living room when I walked in, his face unreadable. My heart sank. Something was wrong. He didn't say anything at first, just watched me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Then, he pulled out his phone and played a voicemail. "I thought you should know, your wife is seeing someone else. I've seen her meeting him at hotels. sneaking around behind your back. My stomach dropped. Someone had seen us. Someone had told him. The blood drained from my face as Jason stood up, his eyes filled with hurt and anger. He didn't need to ask if it was true, the look on my face told him everything he needed to know. Chapter 5, The Fallout. In the days that followed, my world came crashing down. Jason moved out, heartbroken and furious. He couldn't believe that I had betrayed him with his best friend. David tried to reach out to me, but everything felt tainted now. What had once been exciting and passionate now felt dirty and wrong. The affair had destroyed everything, my marriage, my friendship with David, and any sense of security I once had. I was left alone, haunted by the choices I had made and the lives I had ruined.